Well, Jim, thank you so much, sir, for coming on the program tonight. I appreciate it, especially because you're under the weather.
Well, Cam, once again, welcome back to the Second Amendment battleground state, and apparently it's the cold and flu battleground state this afternoon. So, Boy, I'll tell you, it's one thing after another up here. But once again, we're starting a new legislative session, and here we go.
And I'm not sure what makes you feel more queasy, the stomach bug or the Microstamping Bill that has been dropped by Representative David Paul Linsky. Tell us a little bit about this legislation, Jim.
Well, I think it's pretty straightforward, at least from what I've seen of it. That it would basically create a situation where any semi-automatic firearm in Massachusetts, meaning handgun, sold will have to have the serial numbers in it that will cause it to be stamped when fired on the shell casing. I mean, how many guests have you had talking about microstamping? And apparently there's still a few people left in the country that just don't get it, that the technology, number one, is too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to work. It's not going to do what it supposedly is intended to do. But here in Massachusetts, it's going to hit us even harder because, as we've talked several times before, purchasing handguns up here is tough enough because of the Attorney General's regulations and also the statutory testing on handguns. There will be a point where if we can't get some of this stuff changed and if more stuff passes, you probably won't even be able to buy a handgun in Massachusetts, and not because they're outlawed, just because of all the things that are jumped on top of it.
Yeah, and I'm worried too, Jim. I remember when Illinois decided to start going after semi-automatics a few years ago. Obviously, a number of the gun manufacturers in the state said, look, if you tell us we can't make our products, we're going to have to go elsewhere. Massachusetts, you've got some venerable firearms companies that would fall under this provision. Every gun that they would make that's a semi-automatic, if microstamping passes, would have to be microstamped. I can see that being a huge issue.
Yeah, and I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean, the NRA, the NSSF, and other organizations have done a good job nationwide to really educate, governments and the public alike as to, how poor this thing is, how much money it would cost, and really how little it's going to do. And, Massachusetts in itself is kind of the petri dish, if you will, of over a decade of evidence that gun control just doesn't work. And most people have got it, some people haven't. And there's always going to be these few. Now, one of the interesting things is, as a sideline to this,
mm-hmm.
is most of the people that we've had, I guess you call problems with over the years, are actually, they come from the prosecutor realm. And it's, if you look at the Scott Harshbargers, the Tom Rileys, the Cheryl Jakes, and other Dave Linsky's, and Dave, personally, he's a good guy. He just doesn't get our stuff. But the problem is a lot of these prosecutors, because of their career path, only see people as a victim or a criminal. They don't see the average citizen in between.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, still in Massachusetts, the vast majority of people are neither. They're neither a victim or a criminal. And, they want to be able to go about their business on it, however they want to go about it. And prosecutors, especially if they've been in that job for so long, don't see it that way. And that's always a problem to try to educate them, or actually kind of re-educate them, that the vast bulk of society is neither a victim or a criminal, and they just want to go about their lives.
Yeah, Jim, are you tell us about the makeup of the legislature in Massachusetts this year. I think you're right about the people, but what about the lawmakers? Is this a body that could pass something like microstamping?
Well, I've been in this business long enough, Cam, to never try to guess. Never bet against the house, as they say, right? Politics, as you know, you've been around it long enough too. You never know what's going to happen from day to day. It could take. You could be on the right path, and suddenly one news story can change the entire look of politics as we see it today. You could be on a 2-year path to get a bill passed or to get a bill blocked, and you just never know. And that's why it's so important for our members, whether it's Gold or the NRA or anybody else, to be so proactive, because you cannot sit back on your laurels and think, well, I've got this beat, I don't have to worry about it. And that's why, we always. It seems that for years, you and I have done a show, it seems like the last night of the legislative session almost every year. Because, like I said to somebody today in the State House, they asked me, why do you bother going the last 2 days? Because in the last 2 days, you might have 400, you would actually have more bills passed in the last 48 hours than you would in the last 480 days. So you never know until the last minute what might happen and what might cause something to push it over the top, especially with this governor, because if it got past the legislature, the governor's going to probably put his name to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as always, Jim, I appreciate you coming on the program, sir. Feel better.
Well, I hope so. And, we always got Pittsburgh to look forward to. And matter of fact, you're coming up this summer, right?
That's right. June 18th, is that the day?
Saturday, yeah, at the Boxborough Holiday Inn.
I've got it in my calendar and in pen this time.
In pen this time. Good. Very good.
All right, thanks, Jim. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.